All right, guys, so we are gonna come to the end of our mat. We're gonna start with our standing roll downs. So I'm gonna start at the end, one end of my mat, pick any one that you want. Feet are gonna be a little bit on the wider side. I think I'm gonna start about mat width apart, especially if your hips, your hamstrings, your legs are fairly tight. So I've got a wider stance about mat width, and I can feel the weight in my heels and in my toes. And I'm gonna rock kind of back into my heels and then rock forward towards my toes. So there's a bit of sway, and kind of see how my body's lining up with the windows behind me. Swaying back into the heels, forward towards the toes. So I feel the weight travel across the bottom of my foot. And I'm going to settle into a nice neutral position where the heel of my foot and the ball of my foot is good contact with the mat. Arms are going to reach up overhead, stretching up nice and long, and then exhale, chin to chest, folding at the mid-ribs. We're going to curl and roll down. And I'm trying to maintain that even contact from heel across the foot to the toes, keeping the weight there. And then pressing back now, I'm going to weight my heels, take the weight off of my toes, off the ball of my foot. I get a deeper stretch up the back of the leg. And then rocking forward towards the tips of the toes, kind of changing that weight. As I push my heels down slightly and weight the toes, it shifts that stretch more to the lower leg. I rock back into the heels. I get that stretch through the hamstring, the upper part of the leg, and then kind of lean forward or walk the hands forward just a little bit to get into that calf. Coming back to center, feeling that even weight. I'm trying to find that vertical leg. On the exhale, ribs and abdominals draw in to tighten up the core on that exhale as you curl and restack. Standing up nice and tall, reaching up nice and long overhead. And then I'm going to walk my feet in so they're just under my sit bones, about 3 to 4 inches apart. Exhale, folding at the bra line, at the mid-ribs. We curl and roll down towards the floor. And now I'm hanging. Letting the head hang, feeling that stretch up the back of the leg, and I'm going to push my hips back past my heels. Bigger stretch. Weight the heels, but put more pressure to the toes. So I feel that stretch in the lower leg. And then back into my heels once again. I feel that tension, that stretch, tension travel up. And last time, leaning forward as I weight the heels. Weight the heels, but put the pressure in the ball of the foot. And then back to a good symmetrical weight of the foot from heel to toes. On the exhale, curling back up, restacking the spine piece by piece. Arms are going to reach up overhead, nice and long, stretching up towards the ceiling, walking my legs together, pulling through inner thigh, tucking the tailbone, feeling that tension in the back of the hips and inner thighs, and fold and curl forward now. Legs closer together, more balance required, so that wider stance gives you a wider base. And we're hanging right here. I'm now going to twist. I'm going to walk my hands around to the outside of that right leg. So I'm twisting through the upper body, still squeezing through inner thighs, and then hands walk around to the other side as I weight the heels. And coming back to center, pressing back into the heels, pushing the hips past the ankle, and then rocking my body body weight forward, so I weight more towards the toes. Coming back to neutral. Even contact through the full bottom of the foot. Letting that head hang. And then exhale, drawing the ribs and the abdominals in. Restacking the spine. Curling up nice and tall. Arms reach up overhead. Fingers are going to interlace. I'm going to go palms up towards the ceiling. Press through inner thighs and glutes and into an extension. Chest lifts up for the ceiling. Shoulders slide down the back. Bracing through the abdominals. And back to center. Right ankle, right foot, right leg crosses over the left. And forward fold. Curling and rolling down to the mat. Hanging here at the bottom, letting the head hang. We're stretching deeper into the back of that left leg and hip. And now I'm going to rock from side to side. Moving my hips from side to side. So I feel that stretch shift in the back of that left leg. Before we were rocking forward, heel to the toes. Now I'm rocking right to left. Moving at the ankles so the feet are stable. Finding that center position. And exhale. Pressing away from the floor, curling and restacking the spine. Reaching up long overhead, pressing through the legs. Fingers interlace over the top. And I'm going to flex over to the left, pressing the hips to the right, the ribs to the right. Back to center. Reach up nice and long. Body pushes out to the left. Back to center. And we'll uncross the legs. We're now going left leg, left ankle, left foot, over right. Pressing through inner thigh, tucking the tailbone as we engage through the glutes. And folding at the mid-ribs, curling and rolling down towards the floor. Hanging here at the bottom, letting the head hang. And we rock from right to left. Pressing the hips out to the side. We're moving at the ankle as we weight the foot. Shoulders are sliding back and down as we come towards center, letting the head hang. And we curl and roll back up. Finding that center line, finding that balance. Arms reach up nice and long overhead, fingers interlace. Reaching up and over to the right as we kick our hips to the left. Rib cage moves over to the left. Try to weight the feet, straighten the legs. Draw in towards that center line. We come back up and over to center. Stretch up towards the ceiling. And other side. We're reaching up and over to the left with the arms as the hips and the ribs kick out to the right. And back to center. Uncrossing the legs. We're going to take a 6 bones distance stance with the feet and legs for parallel. Hands separate, we curl and roll down. We're going to walk out to that center plank, rolling down towards the mat. On that exhale, hands are going to walk out. Nice and smooth, trying not to sway. Out to that center plank. Pushing up nice and long, nice and strong, up away from the floor. Holding strong here as we push away. Feeling those shoulders squeeze back and down. Good tension in the legs and in the inner thighs. On that next exhale, hips go high. Reaching the hips up towards the ceiling. Slight arch in the low back as we press the heels towards the floor. Moving that tension into the shoulders, into the mid-back. And then very slowly, we're going to walk straight legs towards our hands for inchworm. Pressing the heels down as we walk in. Finding that stretch. Letting the head hang. One more breath. And we'll bend the knees slightly so we can plant the hands back to the mat. Step back with that right leg and back with that left leg into our center plank, lengthening and stretching the spine nice and long, drawing the ribs in, pushing up strong away from the floor. Holding that breath, holding that position nice and strong, focusing on that nice long inhale, that nice long exhale. And hips go high. Reaching the hips up and back for the ceiling behind you, straightening the legs as we press the heels down. And hands walk back to the feet. 1, 2, 3. And head hangs. Nice and slow with that breath. Not rushing that inhale or rushing that exhale. Let the full spine decompress. And on that next exhale, we walk out again. Trying not to sway the body from side to side. Out to that center plank, pushing up nice and strong, up away from the floor. Imagine a string, drawing your crown of your head forward over the mat, tailbone back towards the heels, straightening the legs longer. If you want to take it a step further, I'm going to walk my left hand a little bit more center, and I'm going to twist so my right hand can come up off the mat, and I can stack those legs nice and strong. Right leg over left, right arm's reaching up for the ceiling. And I twist and unwind, coming back to a center plank, adjusting the foot and the hand position, pausing back in that center plank for a breath. And then I walk my right hand in just a little, twisting to go left leg over right and into that strong side plank. Pushing up strong away from the floor, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slow to unwind. Adjust the foot in the hand position. Hips reach back nice and strong up for the ceiling, pressing the heels down. Straight legs, walk forward for inchworm, driving the heels down. Keep walking the legs forward until your hamstrings can't stretch anymore. The head hangs. Feel that stretch along the spine and the back of the legs. Knees bend forward slightly. Hands flat to the mat, so you bend as much as you need to. Sliding those shoulders down, right leg steps back, and left leg steps back. Adjust for your center plank. And we go into extension. Drop the hips for the floor. Chest lifts up. Tightening up through the abdominals, through the glutes as best you can. And chin to chest. Rounding through the back. Pushing back into a rounded spine and then into downward dog. And chin to chest, rounding and curling the back, coming forward out to that center plank and into extension. Head, neck, chest lifts as the hips drop into that back bend and chin to chest, folding at the midribs, rounding the spine, rounding the back, reaching the heels towards the floor, gliding those shoulders down, taking the pressure off the hand and the wrist. One more. Chin to chest, rounding the spine, rolling forward back to that center plank. We hit that center plank position. Stay tight through the core and the glutes. Head, neck, chest lifts. Hips drop. In for that back bend. And chin to chest, rounding the spine, reaching back into downward dog, driving the heels for the floor, pushing the arms nice and straight as we stretch the neck and slide the shoulders down. Now with control, we walk the hands back towards the feet, trying not to sway from side to side. Nice deep long inhales. Pushing all that air out on that long exhale. And next exhale. Curling and restacking. Rolling back up. Resetting the spine. Arms reach up overhead, fingers interlace. 2 side bends to each side, alternating from side to side, reaching up out of the waist. Last one up and over to the left. And hands come down by your side. Let's come to our mat, laying flat on our back. Curling and rolling back, so we're in a nice neutral spine position, that little gap at the small of the back. We're gonna bring our arms up overhead, palms up towards the ceiling, drawing the ribs in. On the exhale, arms flow forward, we lift the head, neck, and chest. We're in for that super modified hundreds prep position. As we reach back and reset those shoulders, head and arms, we draw the abdominals in, cinch the ribs in tighter, and exhale, fold and lift. Exhale, folding at the midribs, coming up into that chest lift, holding this lift, folding deeper at the midribs. On the next inhale, arms reach up. exhale, arms reset. We're reaching up long overhead, not losing that chest lift. Last two. Fingers interlace, bringing our hands back behind our head to support the head and the neck. And exhale, twisting over to that right shoulder blade, back to center, twisting through the midribs, over to the left. We're going to twist from side to side, moving from shoulder blade to shoulder blade. Keeping the even weight from hip to hip so that movement can come just through the midribs. Last one, twisting to the left. Come back to center. Hands come off the back of the head. We grab the back of the thighs, lift a little higher, rounding the back, rounding the spine. Hold that extra height of the chest as the arms come off and back to the head, and we curl and roll back. Exhale, fold at the midribs, supporting the head and the neck with the arms in your core. We come up into our chest lift. Hands to the back of the thighs, we fold and lift a little higher. Hold that extra height as the hands return to the head and we curl and roll back. Trying not to shrug or pull the head forward. Folding nice and deep across the midribs. Holding that extra height of the chest lift as the hands transfer. Back overhead. Last one. Arms come out to a T position, palms up towards the ceiling. Check the height of the arms to make sure they're not up above the shoulders. We're at a nice T position or a little lower. We'll bring our knees to tabletop. Moving through the mid-ribs, we inhale. Twist the lower half of your body to the right. Exhale, back to center. Inhale as we twist, weighting the left hip, but not losing contact with that right shoulder. We're moving through our spine twist supine, anchoring the mid-ribs, anchoring the shoulder blades. Trying not to extend the back as we twist from side to side. We're using that exhale to draw the rib cage together, pull the abdominals deeper into the body. One more each side. And legs hold at tabletop, hands to the knees, folding at the midribs to lift the head, neck, and chest in for single leg stretch. The right leg reaches out. Hands transfer from knee to knee as the opposite leg stretches forward out over the mat. In for that single leg stretch. Keeping the chest lifted throughout the movement. Allowing the legs to move smoothly from the hip. Maintaining that even weight from side to side. We hold at tabletop. Fingers interlace, hands behind the head, supporting the head and the neck. We move in for crisscross, right leg forward, upper body twist left, and reset to center. Take it nice and slow for those first few. We don't want to rock off either hip. Finding that stability and that alignment through the torso. One more each side. Pausing at center. Hands come back to the knees, in for double leg stretch. We inhale, arms and legs move away from center. Arms circle back and around, returning to tabletop. We keep that chest lift as we move into that boat position, that hollow position. Last three. Knees tuck into the chest, drop the shoulders down. Head rests back to the mat. And legs together, we're going to drop the feet to the mat. Knees are still pressing together, arms open out to a T. We're going to twist and stretch. Legs are going to twist, lower body's going to twist left as you look out over that right arm, right shoulder. Finding that rotation through the mid-ribs. And on that next exhale, we're going to draw back to center and change sides. Legs twist, lower body twist right. Head, neck looks out left, over that left shoulder, that left arm, drawing the ribs in, keeping the midline nice and tight. And back to center. Legs straighten out, long across your mat. Arms are reaching up overhead, stretching long away from you, and on the inhale, arms flow forward, lifting the head, neck, and chest. Exhale, folding at the mid-ribs, curling and rounding, rolling forward, coming up into that roll up, stretching out long over the legs. And curl and restack. Sitting up nice and tall, stretching nice and long. We're going to come up to a kneeling position for a little bit of a hip stretch. Starting in that kneeling position, we're going to bring our right foot up and forward, driving the hips forward and slightly down as that right knee moves over the toes. Keeping the core tight, the shoulders are down. We're going to interlace our fingers, reach the hands forward and up. Chest lifts up, we're in extension. And arms come down by the side. Right hand comes to the inside of that right foot. And we're going to twist through the mid-ribs. Left arm reaching up. Hands come down to the mat, one hand on either side of that front right leg. Curl the left toes under. We're going to straighten that left leg. And front right leg straightens back. Hips travel back. Bending that right knee, hands flat to the mat. We're going to walk and jump that right leg back. We're returning to our center plank. And knees drop to the mat. We sit back, stretch back. Hips towards the heels. We'll curl and round the spine, rolling up, left foot comes forward. Rising to that kneeling lunge stance, and hips press forward as that left knee goes out over the toes, dropping the shoulders down. And fingers interlace. Hands reach forward, away, then up. Chest lifts, we're in extension. And hands separate, arms come down by your side. We'll place that left hand on the inside of that left foot. And we're gonna rotate and twist. Right arm reaches up for the ceiling. Pressing the hips forward and down. And hands to the mat, one on either side of that front left foot. Curl the right toes under, we straighten that right leg. And then left leg straightens as the hips travel back. Working that split leg stretch. And curling and rounding forward, bending that front left knee. Hands flat to the mat, and we kick that left leg back, returning to our center plank. Holding nice and strong, nice and slow with the breath. And knees drop to the mat, out to the sides. Sit back, dropping the chest down between the knees. Reaching out nice and long overhead. On the exhale, we're going to tuck and curl. Rolling and restacking back up. We're going to come back up to a standing position. We're going to work a little bit of balance. I'm going to face you guys so you can see just a little bit better. I'm going to start with a wide stance, like I would for a wider squat stance. And we're going to work a little bit of that squat motion, driving the knees out over the toes as we send the hips back. So I'll do a few facing you and then turn to the side a little bit so you can see the side profile. On the exhale, arms glide forward, knees out. We sit back and down, pressing through the full bottom of the foot as we rise. We're trying to keep that chest up. Find that depth. We want our hips to go back as the knees go forward. It's that oppositional force. So if I turn to the side slightly, my feet are going to be off the mat just for the profile, and we reach back. Ribs and abdominals are knitted in. Knees go forward and out over the toes as the hips stretch back. One more. And now we're gonna work off the ball of the foot. So I'm kind of walking you guys through a little bit of our reformer footwork, but in a standing position so we can work on balance and strength. I'm gonna lift the heels up. Doesn't have to be a lot. So if you get a lot of releve, that's fine. You wanna be able to maintain your balance and your stability. So I'm gonna lift my heels up, like an inch or two, no more than that, off of the floor. Keeping the heels lifted, knees bend out, and we sit down. Maybe not as low, and slow to come back up. If you drop the feet, you lose your balance, you just reset. Heels slightly lifted, you go hands to the hips, arms out to the side, arms to the front. You find that position that works best for you, trying to maintain that foot position. So we're working on stability in the foot, stability in the knee, and we're working on mobility in the ankle and mobility in the hip. Finding that weight across the pad of the foot, the ball of the foot, across the toes. Last two. And then we're going to walk our feet in, flat feet. We're going to go to our V position. Like you would, frog on the foot bar. We're going to keep our heels down for the first 5, and then we'll go up into that releve, that lifted heel. So knees are going to go out. We're going to squat down. Work the mobility in the ankle. This one's going to be challenging to open up the lower half of the back of the legs at the bottom towards the ankles to get into that stretch. Below the calf muscle, there's a muscle soleus that needs help stretching. Sometimes it gets very tight. So push the heels down, knees go out, hips go back. We work that stretch. We'll go one more. And then staying in our V, we're gonna lift up onto the ball of the foot. See if you can press the heels together. Feel the hips wrapping around to the back, the legs wrapping around to the back for that external rotation. Find that balance. And then begin that squat. Nice and slow. If you need more help balancing, go to a hard surface. Get off your mat, get off the carpet if you can. Something that's hard and flat that doesn't have a lot of give. Otherwise, if you want to make it harder, grab a pillow, grab a towel, fold it up, grab a wobble cushion if you have one. Last two. And then we're going to work our parallel stance to finish up. I'm going to go a little side position so you can see more of a profile, more of a coach's stance. So my feet and my legs are right under my sit bones, more narrow. And keeping my heels down, I'm going to work that chair sit. Hips go back, knees go forward. Check the alignment. Knees don't dive in. Look at your feet. Make sure the arches aren't collapsing onto the floor. Feel yourself tear the floor apart under your feet. Engaging the abdominals as you drop and as you lift. One more. And then we rise up onto the ball of the foot. Little lift of the heel. Doesn't have to be much. But we're in a little plantar flexion, little lift of the heel. And then we're going to sit. Feel your toes spreading wide across the floor. Holding that balance. Nice and tall, nice and strong. Try to recover if you feel like you're losing that position. And back into that seated chair pose. Find something across for you to spot and focus on. Try not to rush the movement. Really spread those toes wide. Last two. And with control, we drop the heels back to the mat. Arms come to the front. We go chin to chest, folding along the midribs. We curl and roll down towards the floor. Let's hang and stretch. You can rock from side to side, rock forward or back. Move that stretch along the spine and the legs. Coming back to neutral, and on the exhale, draw the ribs and the abdominals in, pushing that air out as you curl and restack the spine piece by piece, segment by segment. Arms reach up nice and long overhead. We stretch straight up for the ceiling. Stretching longer. And arms rest down by your side. All right, guys. Nice work today. Great job.